into the nest and out again, looking over their work with a skillful eye. Quietshore cawed softly to himself and preened a loose feather from under his wing. She was so good at nest building. The red patch on the top of her head caught the light as she worked, its distinctive ginkgo leaf shape gleaming in the bright sunshine. He threaded the loose feather into the nest, then stepped a little farther into the water, feeling the peculiar new current lapping at his spindly legs. The river would always warn them if there was trouble coming, but right now it felt unsettled. It wasn't the terrible splashing of an approaching predator that he felt. It was the sense of great change, and more changes still to come. There was a small splash behind him, and he turned to see Stillwater standing beside the nest, the twig she'd been holding now bobbing in the water beside her. Her beak was slightly open, and her normally sharp gaze seemed unfocused. "Did you feel that?" she cooed faintly. Quietshore focused on the feeling of the current, but there was no change. "Feel what?" he asked. "Something was here." All the feathers along Stillwater's neck were puffing up, and she hopped from foot to foot anxiously. "Didn't you feel it? It felt like something breathed on me." After a moment's pause, she strode out into the river, her footsteps splashing water against Quietshore's legs. He watched, perplexed, as his mate paced up and down in the shallows, startling another carp that had been lazing in a patch of sunlight. "What's the matter?" Quietshore asked, his own neck feathers beginning to ruffle. "I didn't feel anything." I think I have to go." Stillwater finally stopped pacing and met Quietshore's eyes. "I'm so sorry." "Go?" Quietshore didn't understand. "We just got here, but we can move the nest if—" "No, that's not it," Stillwater said. "The nest is perfect. It's me. I feel something calling me. There's something I need to do." She splashed through the water to his side and pressed her neck to his. "I'll be back as soon as I can." "Wait! Quietshore began, but Stillwater didn't wait. She took off in a single leap, scattering a sparkling trail of water droplets through the air behind her. With a few powerful flaps of her black and white wings, she vanished into the northern forest and was hidden by the waving leaves of the bamboo. Quietshore shook himself and took off, flapping anxiously after her, but she was already gone, as if a strong breath of wind had carried her far away. He circled in the air, looking for any sign of his mate or the currents that bore her, but he found nothing. What was happening? Where was she going? When would she come back? Would she ever come back? With a quiet crack, part of the nest below him suddenly came away from the pale rock where it had been wedged, and the whole thing began to float into the river. Quietshore gave a horrified squawk and flew after it, splashing down in the river and seizing it in his beak to try to drag it back to safety. "What's the point? Without Stillwater—" But he wouldn't let himself think like that. "She'll come back, and when she does, she'll have a lovely nest to return to. Our nest." He wrestled with the bundle of twigs, trying desperately to save it, even though parts of the nest were already falling apart and drifting away. Finally, he managed to get it back to the pale rock, but he needed something to wedge it into place. Frantically, he cast around until he saw something long and gleaming white just under the water, the same pale white as the rock. But when he dipped his beak into the water and plucked it out, it kept on coming, longer and longer, until he was holding something thin and curved. It wasn't rock, it was bone. Quietshore had seen enough predators with their prey in the mountains to know that this was a rib bone, one that had belonged to a much, much larger creature than a fish. He put the bone down gingerly and looked around. There were bones everywhere, hundreds of them sticking up from the mud or gleaming in the shallows. These must be the bones of the creature.